First, what do you make of the Canadian Prime Minister Carney's comments, who said today that the old order is ruptured and not coming back?
Well, that presentation by the Canadian Prime Minister was absolutely world-shaking, classic, man of great intelligence and modesty and objectivity. I think what we're seeing ongoing right now is a separation of the global allies from us, recognizing that it's not just Trump, by the way. I had a seminar with Canadian officials talking about it's not just the President of the United States, it's the fact that many millions of Americans support him. So I think what we've got is a President of the United States who has us viewed as a rogue, dangerous nation.
The president says that Greenland's essential for national security, while also saying today that he's not going to use force to take it. Does that change anything?
Well, I think the fact that he backed off the tariffs temporarily and backed off the potential use of military force is encouraging. But this is a volatile, whimsical president, unconstrained by Congress in their role under Article 1 of the Constitution. So the problem still comes down to his fabricated logic that Greenland is essential for us to own for national security purposes. It's utter nonsense. We've got 200 airmen up there on a radar set. Greenland is part of the Arctic security concerns of NATO. It has a future in the U.S. defense establishment. We're not going to go back in there with 10,000 troops and an armored division. It's sheer nonsense. There's no roads, the ports are terrible, the weather is abysmal. There are not Russian submarines ready to capture Greenland. That's utter nonsense. Russia is a third-tier naval and air power that's tied up now with trying to subjugate the Ukraine. So I think a lot of his thinking just makes no sense whatsoever. It is not a vital national security concern of the United States. And by the way, it's part of NATO. So what he's proposing is illogical and dangerous to America's future.
I'm going to get to Russia in just a moment, but to wrap up the sort of what happened in Davos today, Trump described Greenland, which he mixed up with Iceland a few times, as our reporter pointed out, as, quote, a piece of ice poorly situated. He called Denmark ungrateful. He claimed Switzerland wouldn't be anything without the United States. And he told European leaders in general that without past U.S. interventions, quote, you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, unquote. Listening to the president's insults today, how do European leaders continue to work with the president and with the United States, not just now, but looking ahead?
Well, look, there's nothing like this has ever happened to the United States. There's a comical aspect to this, except the United States is still the most powerful nation on the face of the earth, economically and militarily. We are detaching ourselves from the world's great institutions that we helped put together after World War II. The president's behavior is completely illogical. It makes no sense. You have to wonder about the stability of U.S. leadership.
Pointing out that millions of Americans are completely in support of what the president is doing and what the president says. He barely mentioned Russia's Ukraine invasion. Right now, Russia is hammering Ukraine's energy grid, which is reportedly why Zelensky skipped this economic summit. So with NATO allies divided, how is Russia viewing all of this, and what does it mean for Ukraine?
Well, look, yesterday I listened to a very distinguished international affairs expert talking about fraying bonds of conduct between the NATO allies. There are no fraying aspects of NATO. The U.S. has ruled itself out as a serious partner. That's done. I doubt we'll recover from this for a decade. What is happening in Ukraine and in Europe is a recognition that there's a continuing threat by Putin of aggression against NATO countries. That's why Finland and Sweden came into the alliance in the last year or so. So I think they're going to put together their own form of deterrence of Russian aggression. We're not going to be part of it. We're no longer a trusted figure in world affairs. I mean, some of the things coming out of the president's mouth of annexing Canada, of actually conducting strikes against Nigeria in protection of Christians, allegedly, of interference in Venezuela's internal affairs and snatching Maduro and his wife out of the capital, and a brilliantly done military operation, but to what avail, leaving criminal enterprise in charge of Venezuela? None of this makes a shred of sense. We are in trouble.
General McCaffrey, I'm going to have to leave it there. We so appreciate your insight and your time with us tonight. Thank you.